Welcome back to the Preferred Home Team's Guide to Buying and Selling. Today we are with Andy Prasky and Courtney Laufenberg to chat a little bit about the first steps towards selling your home, what you should be thinking about if you're thinking about selling even 12 to 24 months from now. What are those first steps you should take? Welcome, guys.
For having us.
Well, I should say thank you for having me because it's technically your show.
Thank you for showing up.
Well, I know Andy and I talk a lot about selling and what those first steps should be when you are just starting to think about taking the plunge and putting your home on the market. And a couple of those big things are decluttering your house, organizing your things, cleaning, like deep cleaning your house, and also painting. And so leading into that, that's one of the reasons why we brought Courtney on today, is because she owns an organizing company. And so Courtney, do you want to talk a little bit about home organizing and what that means for the average homeowner?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started No Loose Ends a few years ago when the organizing industry was really starting to boom and people were starting to realize that there was a real need for it in their space. And then when COVID hit, I think we all realized that, oh my gosh, we're in our homes 24/7. And things that weren't working for us before really were not working for us, especially with kids doing school at home and people working. So I think people are much more aware of the spaces that they're in and how they want them to function. Now, not everybody has the time or the skills to make that happen for themselves. So that's where a professional organizer will come in. So I can walk through a space and I talk with my client, kind of get a feel for how they need it to work for them. And everybody's different and has different. So if you've got kids that are young, obviously the space needs to function in a different way than if you're a retired couple and, you're just in the space all the time. So that's the great thing about our industry and our business is we get to know our clients and to really cater to them and what they need and create spaces. So when we're talking about getting ready to sell, the biggest thing that I've noticed with my clients is the emotional attachment they can have to their home. Memories are created there, kids have grown up there, different things. And so what I really try to stress with my clients is we need to do a mindset shift. This is now a piece of property that is a part of sort of your portfolio that you want to be able to sell in order to get to your next space that you're going to create memories in. So we need to start depersonalizing that space and making it attractive for somebody who's coming in to say, you know what, I could live here and I could create memories family. And so we start taking that down, let's get some things packed up. And the more time you can allow yourself to do that process, the more organized it can be. So I'm working with several clients now that are downsizing and moving. So we're going through years and years and years of mementos. And they're making those hard decisions. I don't need to keep that anymore. That was a time in my life and great memories, but I don't need all that paper. Or, I have all these family photos. Let's get those digitized so that we don't have boxes and boxes of photos, but we have them, digitized so that every member of the family can have access to those and enjoy them. So there's just all sorts of different steps in the process. And the more time you can give yourself, actually the more work you can do to make your move much more organized and to not take some of the chaos out of it, because it already is chaotic when you decide to move and sell.
Yeah, and I think that there's an interesting dynamic to a ton of the things you were saying there with, just the idea that planning ahead, because I think a lot of us want to be planners, but then sometimes that, experience of, oh my gosh, the perfect house just came up for sale, let's move quick. And it doesn't give us that natural, I don't want to say the word release, but that natural progression of working through years of memories. And I was going to kind of throw a couple of things out there that'll be interesting for us to talk about. For an example, like a lot of times real estate agents, when we're the first ones into the house, when the people don't have the foresight to actually think, hey, I'm going to hire Courtney to, help me. And they have me in there first. And I walk through that house and I'm like, okay, there's every picture from, kindergarten through their senior year of high school, going up the stairs. And when you live there, that was the coolest thing ever. Right. And I don't have the guts to tell them, I got to bring in Courtney, the bad cop. I'll be the good cop and have somebody be honest with you. So what's funny is like, I have clients of mine that'll say, well, you didn't refer us to having any kind of staging organizational done on our friend's house. Well, why us? And usually you're on my naughty list because there's things I need you to get done. And that's okay though, because the beauty of having time is we can do this in an elegant way that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. We get everything packed up properly. Like she says, we find a compartment for everything to go where it needs to go to respect that item. And yet at the same time, we're also trying to make that house as attractive as we possibly can so that we appeal to more people. So you guys, your opening statement here, I mean, we could talk for 2 days on each little segment of that because it's so true. And there's so many dynamics to each thing we talked about. So
I am wondering, how long does it take for the average homeowner to go through their entire house?
Well, that really varies client to client. It really, for organizing, there's really no one size fits all. It really is a relational industry. And so once I have a couple sessions with a client, I can know, okay, I can push them here, but not here, or this is really sensitive and this is maybe an easier yes or no. So it really depends on the client, and the pace of the organization can only go as fast or slow as the client, because I say, I'm not here to trash all your things or to decide what's important and what's not. You decide that. And then we go through the process of, okay, where does it live? Does it need to be digitized? Does it need to be stored? Does it need to be, what does it need to be? So it really is client driven. And I wish there was an answer. I have clients that are like, can you give me an estimate on how much time? And I was like, I can't, that's why I charge by the hour. It's like, it goes as fast or as slow as you want it to. So, and then it also depends on the amount of things you have. If you haven't looked through boxes from a previous move 20 years ago, it's going to take longer than if you have, just a few things strewn about the house that you need to kind of, yes or no, or I need a home for that or something. Then that potentially could go faster.
An interesting dynamic of what's happening in today's world too, is that, with the lack of inventory, a lot of people are like, well, why aren't people listing their houses? And a lot of it, I look back at some of my current and past clients I've had where, that first young couple, they buy that first house, and then now they're ready to have the children and they want to upgrade the house. And this is where Courtney can also help enhance, where we decide, hey, you guys are at a 2.9% interest rate on a $190,000 house, and your payments, $600 a month. We're not going to get rid of that house. Let's reorganize that house and see if we can make that house be a place you can stay for a couple more years. Let interest rates calm down, or let your job go up in price, whatever it is, so that we can make that next move really fluid and easy. And so that's one of the things that I know Courtney and I have been talking about recently, is the repurposing of existing homes to accommodate, repurposing a room. So maybe you bought a house with a formal dining, and now you got to somehow turn it into a kid's toy den or into an office, right? I mean, how many of us during the last couple of years have had to convert and make a home office, right? Or a homework station. And so that's where I think, that's why we brought Courtney in today too, to talk about repurposing a lot of that stuff and for a new function.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And people are really aware of what they're spending and investing in, certain pieces of furniture or organizing bins or whatever. And so an organizer can help you through that process, thinking, that's a good use of your funds, and that could translate to a new home down the road, or these bins are better than these bins, maybe cost a little bit more, but will hold up better. The other thing that an organizer brings is we typically have a lot of discounts around town. And so most of us pass along that value to our customers. So if I get a 20% discount at the Container Store, which I do, I pass that along to my clients. Or if you want to go shopping at Pottery Barn, I get a discount there too, which I am happy to pass along. So there are a lot of things that an organizer brings that I think sometimes there's a little sticker shock at the price, the hourly cost. But if you think about the value of your time and how much time it's going to take you to do the project, whereas if you have me come in, there's an accountability piece, and then I'm there to help you kind of get it done. And then I also have all those resources to donate or to discard or whatever needs to happen with those items. And so there's that wrapping the bow on the project to get it done.
There's been so many couples over the years that I've worked with where they say, you know what, we've been living in chaos for 18 years, trying to remodel our kitchen, trying to do all these big, ambitious projects we had, in our hearts that we just couldn't find the time to get done. And I'm telling you, there are times where I say, you do it yourself, I get it. And then there's times where I say, bring in a true professional to get you headed in. I mean, it's like going fishing on a brand new lake. You can go out there and try to fish that lake 30 different days in a row to try to figure it out. Or you could hire a guide for one day for a couple hours. They can tell you what bait to use, how deep to go, what kind of fish you're going to catch. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an investment into yourself for your sanity and into, like I said, you may decide not to move, and that's okay. See, that's one thing I think, interviewer Courtney, we talk about all the time is that, is it the right time for people to move? And, he said, well, if I meet with a realtor, they're going to, want to make me sell or whatever. And that's weird enough. I'm comfortable enough in my career to where I want to do what's right for you. So I have resources where we've brought, no loose ends Courtney in and said, hey, help us figure this out for these guys. And then, oh, by the way, refer me to a couple of your buddies. And you don't have to move. And I don't care. That's the gist of all of our businesses is working into such a capacity where you want to even refer us is such a huge compliment that way outweighs a small paycheck, for me any day.
So if you were to walk into someone's house and say, here are the top 3 things that I typically recommend you start with, what would those 3 things be?
Well, definitely decluttering. I mean, any one of us. My house is actually, my husband jokes that, it's staged to sell all the time. That's how I like to live. I don't like a lot of clutter and stuff around. But even for myself, I would have to go through and take some things down and rearrange some things and do some stuff. I mean, I have to do some work. So decluttering is number 1. Removing any personal items, things with names on them, family photos, things like that. I just tell people that it's not that those memories aren't fabulous, but they're your memories. And we don't want a potential buyer coming in and focusing on the photos like, oh, can I figure out who that is? Especially if it's somebody who's got some name recognition or something like that, oh, can I figure out who that is or who, so, and then you don't want anything broken, things like that. So I just, kind of frame it that way. So it's not, you're not insulting the customer or the client. You're just kind of saying, this is the way to go. Any repairs that have been pushed off. I always say it's so funny. My husband and I have moved a few times, and as you're getting ready to sell, you're like, fixing that faucet, or you're doing this, or you're doing that. And you're like, why didn't we do this before? Because the house looks great. And now we're selling it. So it's all that sort of deferred stuff that you're like, I'll do it later. It's not a big deal. We'll get to it. So all of those things, painting for sure. I mean, if you got a lot of crazy colors going on and things like that, can be distracting for somebody. And really you want your new, the potential buyer to walk in and think, I can live here. Well, some people don't like lavender walls or, an orange, accent wall in the master bedroom, things like that. So, just bring it down, neutralize it, so that people can come in and,
I mean, not everyone wants a big AP on their wall.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little personal. Yeah. A little personal.
I'd be perfect for Courtney to come help.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of decluttering to do, Andy?
Well, I agree with that so much because I tell you, any of us that have ever been out shopping in a town where we grew up, like I was over in Brooklyn Park, so Park Center grad, all my buddies, you start selling their mom and dad's houses here and there. They're buying their first houses. And when you go into a house, first thing you do is go, I know this guy, or I know their kids. And you'd spend 20 minutes looking at all the photos in the hallway and you go, oh yeah. And also you're like, oh, so we're buying their house. That's when I really understood the power of neutralizing a home and really being able to tell someone. So when they come in, if they're not part of that little soccer community or the church community or whatever that you're from, they can come in and make this home theirs. And I think if there's anything you're listening to is you want to make kind of like, you know, you go to Baskin Robbins, right? And they have their 33 flavors or whatever the heck it is, but their number one seller is vanilla. And so they have all this flavors to bring in the door and all this decorating and crazy. But at the end of the day, people want to come in and make it their own, and they like to take vanilla and they put their own toppings on it. And that's what we're trying to do here is give them their vanilla scoop of ice cream, let them put on their own sprinkles or their own chocolate or whatever they want to put on there and make it their own.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say too, as you're looking to stage your home for sale, don't forget about closets and pantries and different areas like that, because I think people are realizing now that storage is so key and how it functions. And if they can see it functioning well when they open your pantry and they're like, oh, I mean, it doesn't have to be containerized and all this stuff, but at least if you can see, oh, you know, I could make that work for my family or myself. I think that's also a huge selling point.
We've had a couple of times where, you know, consumers' versions of decluttering is put everything in the garage, and then the garage is full to the rafters. And I've always said, you gotta help me now. If we have the old it's full, I still want to be able to look across and see the other wall so that people can dimensionally see how big the spaces are. So if you have nowhere else to store something, and you know there's no good place to put it until the movers come, and at least give people a clear, you know, they open up the garage door, they can see out. And I always say, let them, you know, give them a path to walk around, and so they can see the sizes of those areas. And I think we all understand, you know, storage can be a challenge sometimes for some people, but that's an old tip I give, because otherwise, man, you open up a door and see a box and you're like, oh boy.
Yeah, it can be a lot. Yeah.
Well, I think this is super helpful. If someone is looking for help taking the next step with decluttering and organizing, or if they are looking to declutter and organize so that they can sell, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you, Courtney?
Well, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I've got a website, noloosens.com. My cell phone number is everywhere, feels like. So a lot of clients I'm finding are texting or calling just to kind of pick my brain a little bit and maybe set up an on-site. I work best when I can talk with a client, kind of feel out if it's a good fit. And then I like to go see the project because I'm very visual in that way. And so then I can give feedback or suggestions on how we can move forward together. The other thing that is great about working with an organizer is I'm a part of the National Association of Professional Organizers, and we have a Minnesota chapter. So if I don't feel like I have the time to take on that project, or I don't feel like I'm a good fit, I've got 35 other organizers around town that I can refer to, which is amazing. So, and then sometimes clients will have me in and it's like, you know, it's not really something I need to do. Maybe they need a junk hauler just to come out because they got a bunch of stuff in their garage. They've already sorted it. They just need it taken away. I've got resources for all of that too. So, I just say, you know, start the conversation, make the call, and then we can kind of discern from there what you need. I really am in the business of helping people, not gouging people and trying to sell services they don't need. It really is a relationship-based industry. And so all I really want to do is help.
I think that, you know, one of the things I've over the years, I think that's important for homeowners is, you know, when you do need a professional, I get it. I mean, there's some people that can do for sale by owner. Some people are marketers, some people are whatever. But if you're like, hey, I need the services of a real estate agent, and you say, okay, Andy, come on out, give us the value, help us out or whatever. And as I'm sitting there, one of the things that I will tell you, or just mention this, that you saw this, a little commercial here, I'd be more than happy to pay for a consultation where you can have Courtney out. I'll pick up the tab. You hire us to list the house. We'll work as a team for you, get that house organized, get it looking its best it possibly can. And what's cool about that for you as a consumer is, all it means is that you're potentially making yourself more money, because at the end of the day, when you're selling your house, figuring out ways to maximize your return on investment are the key things, and bringing in professionals that can guide you through that process. And when you, if you're not willing to do it, I'll do it for you, because that's how much I care about you. So it's important to me. And again, our goal is at the end of the day is to have us so thrilled with what we do that you want to tell all your friends about it and brag about us and get us hired elsewhere. So that's where I'd leave this meeting.
I think that's a great way to leave the meeting. Well, thank you so much, Courtney, for joining me and Andy today. I'm excited to see what you do and hear the stories of all the success you have with Andy's clients.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Bye, guys.